but he was soon won over by the singer's charisma and outlook on the music scene. Binder worked with his partner, Bones Howe, to write a rock and roll special that featured both new songs and old hits, sung in a more contemporary style. By mid-June 1968, rehearsals began in Hollywood. Soon after, Binder noticed Elvis looking out the window at Sunset Boulevard. Binder asked him what he thought would happen if he walked down the street by himself. He turned the question back on Binder, who replied that he didn't think anything would happen. After a few days, Elvis decided to see if Binder was correct. "Now it all made sense to me," Binder later explained. "I'm sure that Elvis thought he couldn't go out in public, because the colonel had probably told him he would be mobbed and possibly all of his clothes would be torn off with fans trying to get a piece of them. It was a test to see if the world had indeed moved on without him." Elvis's entourage began heading for the door, but Elvis only wanted Binder with him for his little experiment. Binder recalled, "There were hardly any pedestrians on the street, but the traffic was building on the strip. It was a little awkward for both of us because we feigned some conversation about nothing particularly important. We were both waiting for something to happen. Cars were driving by, not even bothering to look at us. No horns were honking, and no California girls were rolling down their windows to get a look at Elvis or scream out his name. A couple of seedy-looking hippies almost bumped into us as they were heavily engaged in their own conversation." If Elvis still believed that he was too famous to walk down the street like a normal person, he was sorely disappointed. "After a few long minutes, I could tell Elvis was getting uncomfortable and restless," Binder wrote. "Absolutely nothing unusual was happening. A few more minutes passed before Elvis decided to take charge of the situation. He started waving at the passengers in the cars passing by. Still nothing happened. Elvis had enough and wanted to go inside." Binder later held that if there had been any advance warning, there would have been mobs and stopped traffic. But in late 1960s Hollywood, everyone was too jaded to believe it was really Elvis, if they even noticed him at all. Regardless of Binder's speculations about the variables of their little experiment, the event had an effect on Elvis. For just a moment, he was reminded what it was like to be nobody. And Elvis worked hard on the special to make sure he would never feel that way again. "I can never forget the longing to be someone," Elvis told a reporter in 1965. "I guess if you are poor, you always think bigger and want more than those who have everything when they are born. We didn't. So our dreams and ambitions could be much greater because we had so much farther to go than anyone else." For Elvis, poverty wasn't just a chapter in his past, but a condition that stayed with him, shaping his perspective for his entire life. By the time he broke through and peaked as a national star in 1956, he had spent over 3/4 of his life struggling to make ends meet. We take for granted that he was a rich superstar, but from his perspective, poverty and failure were the rule, and wealth and success were the exception. "I don't know what it is," Elvis once tried to explain to the Saturday Evening Post. "I just fell into it, really. My daddy and I were laughing about it the other day. He looked at me and said, 'What happened, El? The last thing I can remember is I was working in a can factory and you were driving a truck.' We all feel the same way about it still. It just caught us up." Elvis defied the expectations of someone born during the Great Depression to poor white Southerners. Elvis had achieved what no white trash working-class male had ever dreamt possible. He was at once cool and sexually transgressive and a country boy, writes Nancy Eisenberg in White Trash, the 400-year untold history of class in America. No longer a freakish rural outcast as in the past, Elvis was a hillbilly cat, someone many teenage boys wished they could be. Elvis was true to where he came from, yet transcended his humble roots. It's a bit strange now to think of Elvis as a country singer, but as a white person singing a kind of folk music, this was how he was first marketed and commercially consumed in the mid-1950s. Many of his early pop hits were smashes on both the pop and country charts. Elvis pulled the rare trick of staying true to his original audience while embracing a much wider one. Elvis's humble beginnings haunted him, fearing it could all be taken away overnight. Instead of recognizing his hard work and unique talent, Elvis grappled with what has become known as imposter syndrome, missing the obvious signifiers of his own success and feeling like he was just bluffing his way through. From his first brushes with fame, Elvis sounds like he is living outside of himself.
To keep listening to this audiobook for free, click the link in the description. It will take you to a free Audible trial where you can listen to this and many other books for free for 30 days.